Hello, and welcome to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the injury market's top program for doctors, lawyers, and insurers who want to gain greater insight on how to improve patient recovery results and deliver better services in the U.S. injury market. Please welcome your host, Dr. Jeffrey Allen Kronk.
All right, doctors, today what I want to talk about is follow-up is the key to getting good referral relationships. So what is follow-up? Well, follow-up is anything you do to get a task accomplished. So if you want the task accomplished of, hey, I want this attorney to start referring and enter into a referral relationship with me, or I'd like this MD to start knowing what our services are so that they could start to refer patients, or I'd like the pastor of my church, or the person that's in the Kiwanis Club, or whatever it is. The automotive shop, yes, so we'd like to, have them promote us and have them refer to us. So the part of getting it done is, hey, we want them to refer to us. Everything you do prior to that is called follow-up. Now, here's the beautiful thing about follow-up. Follow-up is for the gamers. Follow-up is something that the big-time players do. And that's what makes them big-time players. And what I mean by big-time players, I don't mean people that, scheme the market. I don't mean the people that do things that are unethical. That's not what I mean. I mean the good business practitioners, the people that grow big injury practices, good, productive, successful businesses, the people that grow great any kind of practice. Let's say you got a neuropathy practice, or whatever, you got a surgical practice, whatever it is that you have. You can be a chiropractor, you can be a PT, you can be a medical doctor, medical specialist, surgeon, doesn't matter. All right, in a business practice, follow-up is key. Now, here's what I love, especially for the conservative care providers. Those are the PTs, the DCs. What I absolutely love is the fact that follow-up and the concept of follow-up provides a barrier to entry. Look, if I'm in a local market, I'm competing with other clinics. Now, if I'm going to compete, I want to be able to exploit weaknesses in my competition. I want to have barriers to entry set that make it very difficult for people to get into the space that I'm actually aggressively targeting. So those of you that know me, we target and show doctors how to target one of the most, if not the most serious soft tissue injury to the spine, which is the support ligament injury, the non-disc ligament injury that causes instability and causes a lot of problems. Now, I'm already excellent. I'm already excellent in that area. I know how to diagnose it. I know how to work it up. I know how all my guidelines work. I know how my Croft treatment guidelines work, how to grade a sprain. I know what my surgical guidelines say, what my return to play parameters guidelines say, what my best practice guidelines say. And I know I'm relating that all in an I know emotion study. I know how to treat this thing successfully. And I know what my documentation does that makes everybody's job a lot easier that's trying to determine the insurance benefits, including the insurer. Now, I want to compete in this market. I want people to understand who I am so that they can flow me referrals. Now, I know there's a lot of competition when I look around if there's things that hold a competitor back. So when I played in college sports, there were many athletes that were not willing to work all that hard. They weren't able to put in the time. They weren't able to make it, a primary focus. And especially when it came to getting in shape. I played college basketball, I played college baseball, and I played college rugby. And there were a lot of athletes. I certainly was not the most gifted physically, but you were not going to beat me as far as getting in shape. You were not going to beat me as far as the endurance that it took to compete at the end of a match or at the end of a game. You simply were not going to beat me there. You might beat me. You might be able to jump higher. You might be faster. You might be stronger. That's fine. I'll concede some of that. But you're not going to beat me in an area that a lot of athletes simply can compete. When it comes to professional follow-up, a lot of providers simply will not compete. They self-impose their own limitations. They look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, I don't have time. I need to do my CE. I need to learn my technique better. I need to get better results." They have all these reasons why they don't do simple follow-up procedures. And when I say simple follow-up procedures, I mean simple follow-up procedures. I mean that this particular area is so easy, so absolutely easy to get in the top 2 or top 10%. It's unreal. And again, it's simply because providers they self-impose. They consider that this thing called professional follow-up is tough and that it's hard. It's actually not. It's actually fun. It's actually easy. It's not that hard to do at all. And the thing is, there's a lot of providers that'll say, well, my market's already, the attorneys already have their relationships. There's already doctor relationships. It's so hard to compete in this market. Everybody's after the same thing in this market. It's so hard to compete, yada, yada, yada. Just continuously, why you can't compete. And as a competing doctor in your market, I will absolutely love it. I will flame that in you. Like, what else can I do to make sure that you continuously tell yourself that follow-up is hard and it's very difficult to compete? Let me just give you some statistics, all right? Follow-up. Follow-up is anything that you do to get an action to completion, right? So a lot of times, doctors will go and they'll do an attorney meeting. Good. Well, I think it's fantastic, and if you've done them, I think it's fantastic that you do it. Right? That's like a sales call. All right. In the sales market, 48% of the professional salespeople never follow up after the first presentation of a sale. 48%. Of that's left over, 25% never make a third call. So let me give you some statistics nationally. All right. Sales statistics. 2% of the people buy on the first contact. So that means if you want an attorney relationship, let's say you want 2 attorney relationships that are productive for you. That means you'd have to do 100 presentations to 100 different attorneys to get 2 relationships. Now, if you're in a smaller town, it's a little bit different, but you get the idea. That means if you're going to go around and do 10 presentations or shake 10 hands, chances of you getting an immediate referral relationship are slim and none. Statistically, you just got to know this statistically. All right, 3% of all sales are made on the second contact. 5% of all sales are made on the third. So if you wanted 5 attorneys who are referring to you, you'd have to do 100 attorney meetings 3 times, right? Now, this is where the barrier of entry is going, oh my God, I am absolutely drooling. I am loving this, because the majority of people won't do 2. They won't do 2 follow-ups, let alone 3 follow-ups. 10% of all sales are made on the 4th contact. That's like, this is just knocking people out. You know what I mean? And think about how many times have you followed up with an attorney relationship? Let's say you met the attorney. You just met the attorney, and now you're following up. How many times have you followed up with that attorney? 4 times over the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. If you think about it, it's probably none, right? I am absolutely loving that, because that means, guess what? There's no competition. 80% of all sales are made on the 5th contact through the 12th or more. So this area of the 5th through the 12th is where the pros are. This is where the pros live. This is where people who build great businesses live. This is where chiropractic centers that get great attorney or medical doctor referrals, this is where they live. It's when you look at it and say, oh my gosh, they're so lucky, or they knew this person. No. You don't know what it took behind all of that. So this is where the pros live. The pros live in follow-up. Now, follow-up to get referrals is insanely easy because there's nobody in the follow-up market. Very, very little. You know, how hard is it to set up an automated email system with, say, 52 emails in it that go out to an attorney once a week that you've done a presentation with. In my program called the Smart Injury Doctors Program, I teach doctors, you got to be very targeted when you go in and get a meeting, right? So follow up for the meeting is, hey, anything I do to get the meeting. Once I have the meeting, I need to go in with a very targeted approach of what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go in this mamby-pamby, oh, let's just make friends. No, I'm going in surgically. I know what I want to accomplish when I go in. Right? What I want to accomplish is I want to be likable. I want them to understand I'm super confident, super competent in what I'm discussing. I'm showing them something that's super, super unique that they really can't get anywhere else. And then I want to add the added value of I am going to send them more information, connect them with more information, and all I need is their cell phone to do it. And when we connect with the cell phone, they will have access to me. You can ask me questions anytime you want to. Good. Boom. I'm doing more in that area than the majority of providers in the market. Now is when I'm really going to turn on and be a pro, though. Now is when I'm going to follow up, right? And I'm going to follow up with some automated things that I already have that we can do, right? I can look them up. I can befriend them on Facebook. Wow, that's a follow-up procedure. Hey, I can send them a thank you messenger. Wow, that's a follow-up procedure. I can go out and I can like something, or I can communicate about something on maybe they posted an article on Facebook. Maybe they posted their office, something new in their office. Good, I can go in and like it. I can comment on it. Guess what? If they have their notifications turned on, it just said, hey, Dr. Kronk from Kronk Chiropractic just liked your new office pictures, right? I can go out and I can basically get with them on LinkedIn. I can connect with them on LinkedIn. I can comment about something on LinkedIn. I can see if they have a Twitter account, an Instagram account, a TikTok account, a YouTube account. I can basically add them into my email autoresponder. Now that I got their cell phone number, I can send them a text video message. If I'm really sharp, I can send them a CLE certificate letter that I'm going to send them via cell phone. I'll send them an image. I'll send them a PDF via my cell phone. I can do so many different things. I can go out and like them, or if I want to, I could go out and post a review on them. Google review. Right? There's a lot of different things. And I have in a program, we have a lot of other things that you can do in order to follow up. But the main thing, you should have something that's automated, something that automates this process for you so you can know exactly where you are in the process with these people, because this is where the pros live. This is not where the little mamby-pamby mom and pop, unless you're in a really small town, which is fine, that's highly effective. But this is not where the introverted doctor who doesn't know really anything about how to get out and start to develop relationships. I, again, love that. I love that because that's a barrier to entry. Nobody's going to play in the same playground I'm playing with. Follow-up is your absolute bottom line key. There is no better ROI than having follow-up procedures that are somewhat automated, where you know what you're doing, where you can track them. You've got a Google tracking sheet. You've got an Excel spreadsheet that says, here's all the things that I can do for follow-up, right? And there's a lot of them. And this is what I did, and this is when I did it, so that you can start to track, okay, what have you been doing? What have you been doing to follow up, to engage that person in order to get more referrals? Doctors, follow-up is the absolute key. It's something that you need to master as a business person, and it's not hard to do. Anybody that tells you it's hard to do is actually hasn't really ever done it and isn't actively doing it. Remember, there's such a rare amount of people that do it, that if you're talking to people that don't do it, of course they're going to say, oh my gosh, it's hard. It's too much work. And again, I love that. I hope the whole crowd keeps convincing everybody and each other that this is really hard to do, because then no one will come and play where I want to play, where I'm going to play. So each and every time I do a podcast, I just take a topic and kind of do a little bit of a riff on it. On this one, I wanted to do one on follow-up. Please, if you have questions or concerns or you want to know more about our program, go to thesmartinjurydoctors.com. Find out more about us. If you want to contact us, it's 800-940-6513. Please, if there's something that is concerning you, put a comment, put a text, critique what I'm saying. If we post this in some social media, interact with us and give me what your problems are, what the things are that you struggle with, and we'll address it. We'll certainly address it. Doctors, lawyers, professionals, who's ever listening to this, I really appreciate your time and your attention. And as you know, we have many, many podcasts. And again, we just take a topic and I just do a short overview on it. I hope in some way this has helped you. I thank you very much, and I look forward to you on the next podcast.
You've been listening to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the #1 audio production show for professionals in the U.S. injury market that want to deliver better injury services to the patients, clients, or insureds they serve. If you like what you heard today, please leave us a review and don't forget to join us on our next program.